People who actually dressed up as creepy clowns during the 2016 clown sightings. Why did you do it? My brother actually did it. He dressed up as one and sat in a forest in our town. I ran into him, not knowing it was his hobby, and was scared crapless. I just asked him this and he said, "Because our town is full of crapheads and I want to scare them." That's my brother for you. Story 2. I didn't dress up as one, but my neighborhood was covered in them for about 2 weeks. I lived in a neighborhood that was right on the edge of a sketchy area, so I was used to some interesting characters, but these effers scared the living crap out of me. I let a friend and her 2 kids going through a rough time move in with me prior to this, and I was watching them for a while she was at work. The daughter, 4, and I were in the kitchen while I was cooking dinner and the baby was asleep. We'd seen the clowns a few times at the end of the road under a streetlight that was blinking, but they never got that close to the house. But I was already on high alert because of it. I was cutting veggies, and there was a window directly in front of me, and I hadn't been looking out of it, but I felt someone was staring at me. I look up, and like something out of an effing horror movie, that clown is staring up at me from my driveway, like 6 inches from my window. I had a giant knife in my hand, and I tried not to lose it because I didn't want to scare Cammy, friend's kid. So I kind of just held up the knife and stood right where I was and stared back. This mother effer never moved. He just stayed right where he was for several minutes. I backed up and got my gun out of the case and called 911. They never found him, but it scared the living crap out of me, and I was a nervous wreck having those kids by myself that night. F those clowns. This is bringing back a lot of scary memories. Story 3. About this time of year, nearly Halloween but not too spooky yet, was homecoming for the local high school. I was at my boyfriend's house and his younger sister had a bunch of people over after the dance. They were all hanging out upstairs. I knew they were the type to scare easy, so I hatched a plan. I did some shopping at Walmart, picked up a purge mask and some face paint, along with the classic rainbow poofy hair clowns have. I painted the mask to look like a clown, donned the wig, and just used a black hoodie. With help from his parents, I acquired a ladder and crawled up onto the porch roof just outside her window and banged on the siding while leaning to the window. Poor friend was the first to see me, let out a shrieking, "Clown! Clown!" And basically it was around 7 girls that sounded like they were being unalived. I took off the mask when one came at the window with a hammer, and they have not trusted me since. Doesn't help that after the first It remake, I put a red balloon in her room. Story 4. I remember when this was happening. Facebook posts came out about someone dressed as a clown on my road. I lived on a kinda secluded road, so the rednecks in the area wanted to go hunting. I'm assuming because they were such big, strong men to hunt down a supposed child/prankster. Well, it turns out the clown was a mentally ill man that ran off in the woods and had been missing for like 3 days. And to make matters worse, the caretaker for the man never made a missing persons report for him. Story 5. Technically, I did it in 2014. I worked for Warner Brothers as an intern. I answered an ad I saw on my way to work through the lot for a marketing campaign, but they were oddly vague about what it was for, except for viral marketing. I now assume it was for it. I had been a creepy clown for Halloween 5 years earlier and still had the costume, and they offered me $100 per day, so I did it. I had to be photographed at least once and put on social media to get paid. It was actually really fun, kind of like working in a haunted house, though I learned to mostly go for teenagers. Much younger and they would be too scared. Much older and they couldn't take the joke and would be angry. I did it 3 times in total, but only got paid for the first 2 times, mainly in Santa Monica and Venice Beach. I have no idea if the 2016 people were part of the same campaign, or maybe were inspired by the campaign, or if it was completely unrelated. I did sign an NDA, but hey, it's been 5 years, and I really don't think they are coming after me or anything. Edit. Just to reiterate, am not even sure if it was Warner Brothers. I just know they had ads posted on the WB lot. It was through a marketing firm that specialized in viral marketing. They were as I said, really vague. I'm also not sure it's actually related to the creepy clown thing that happened 2 years later. The reason why I assume it was for it was that I have seen the same marketing firm do viral marketing for other films that have been in early production in similar ways. They had people fake protests to market for a toxic Avenger movie in 2008 that never got made. They also had my friend chain herself to some random crap around LA to promote Black Snake Moan. They were super fun to work for, and I really doubt they were behind the actual trend in any real capacity. At best, they may have inspired it, and most people were copycats. Story 6. I only did it once, and it was to scare my friend while he was out walking his dog at about 11 p.m. I texted his mom earlier that day and asked if she could make him walk the dog late, and she did. I stood at the end of the driveway, which is about a quarter-mile long and surrounded by thick woods on either side, so you couldn't see very far into it. I crouched behind this pad-mounted transformer box, giggling like a little kid as I heard him approach. I waited for him to pass, then crept down the road behind him carefully, as to not make any noise. After a minute of careful creeping, I was right behind him, so I yelled and wrapped him up in a bear hug from behind. Let me tell you, he freaked the F out. He jumped about 3 feet up in the air and shrieked like a little girl. It went perfectly until I was tackled by his Great Dane and drowned in slobber. She recognized me when I took the mask off, so I didn't get mauled. That's a very important key in pulling a prank like this. You gotta make sure your friend's not violent or going to retaliate with, some hard assault. And also, that's a big gamble to play with a guard dog running at you, man. So if you're gonna do something like this, be safe. Story 7. I didn't do it, but me and my wife had a run-in with one. At the time, I lived on a back road in the woods, and at night it would get dark, except for this one street light. Anyways, we used to run this road either at night or early morning, and always alone because someone has to watch the kids. One night, this clown popped out on her under the streetlight, and I heard her scream from a mile away. So every night I run this track hoping I get my turn, and I did. I was so mad I threatened to essay and unalive him because it seemed like the worst thing you can say to someone. He ran home and told his mom. She came to my house, then heard the rest of the story, and his dad beat him into oblivion. The way he was doing this, he's very lucky he didn't get shot. I'm pretty new to Reddit, but this seems like it's blown up a bit. For clarification, this kid was tall and big. It didn't seem like a kid, but I'm not sure I would have done anything different even if I knew he was. There were 2 incidents prior to this that I didn't know about until afterwards where cars almost wrecked and police were called. This actually saved me because he didn't tell his mom about the clown part, so when I did, it all came together for her. I should also mention that he did chase my wife for maybe 100 yards or so. At the end of the day, if you F with someone, you lose the right to complain about their reaction, in my opinion. Story 8. I always thought with this clown crap, in the UK, it was simply a matter of time before some young twat jumped out in front of a couple, like a scaffolder in his 40s or something, and scared his wife. Then absolute carnage would ensue, and the clown screaming, "Oh, come on, mate, it's just for my Insta," whilst he got the living crap beat out of him. And that's pretty much why it stopped. Yeah, I don't remember why it stopped here in the US, if it was because it became dangerous or if it was just overplayed. Like you saw it in every kind of YouTube video and vlog, and it was just everywhere. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a viral beatdown that did happen, and everybody just kind of hung up the rainbow wigs for good. Story 9. My fraternity brother Tucker did. He was trying to become an influencer and used the frat to make content. He thought it was okay because he saw that as doing work. He also grew up with 4 brothers who were always messing with each other. Other than that, there wasn't much else to it. In the end, it amounted to nothing because the fraternity's regional director made him delete everything. Story 10. I had a mate do it for YouTube. He was trying pretty hard to get a decent view count to kickstart the channel. Think he was on 2 to 3K subscribers. He rounded up some friends, invited me, but I chose not to partake, and set it all up in a multi-story car park local to us. 1 million views. He cleared 1 million views on this clown video, despite it being fake and set up. Bearing in mind his highest view count was 14,000 and he averaged 500 to 1,000 on new videos. He ended up getting publicity on local news, a visit from the cops, and a jump to around 6,000 to 8,000 subscribers. He thought about doing it again for real, but decided otherwise. Think the warning from the cops was enough. Story 11. I live in a college town and the clowns were everywhere. It was an awful time. Walking across campus one night, I saw a car speeding down the street with a drunk clown hanging out the sunroof, swinging around a wooden baseball bat. At the stop sign, they scared a couple of pedestrians, and I heard the driver yelling at the drunk clown to get back inside because they were only trying to scare the frat girls. Not sure why scaring frat girls was the goal, but further down the street the clown got out and started chasing some women, so I guess they accomplished their goal. Story 12. Not sure if this is exactly what you're looking for, but seeing all the jokey comments, I'll tell you what happened. So this wasn't me, but a guy I knew, and he didn't dress up as a clown. It was my friend's family friend who was around 17, and he absolutely loved horror, like me. His favorite movies were Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and of course the original It. He did this earlier than most of the clown sightings. I don't remember the exact date, but it was around late August to the middle of September. He had a really creepy looking Jason mask, which he made even creepier by using paint. He was going out with a few of his friends to see the new Blair Witch movie. Clowns weren't exactly fitting for the movie, but serial killers and clowns and stuff were his favorite things. The movie happened and he said that it was a disappointment. Not as good as the original and stuff when he came back to my friend's house where I was. But what really happened was after the movie, when they were coming back from the cinema, he thought it would be funny to prank some people who were also coming back from the movie. They were at a park and that was right across the street where people were coming back from. He wanted to wait for the last guys to come out so nobody would be behind them, and it was around 10:30 p.m. by that time. Behind the bench they were on, one of his friends heard someone saying, "Geez, that movie gave me the creeps," and he knew immediately they would be his target. So he puts his mask on and comes up behind them and screams. Unfortunately for them, it turns out the person who had said that was dating a dude in the military. So he turns around and punches my friend's friend right in the cheek. He apologized immediately after that. A few clown sightings happened already, but not that much, so the military dude told him about that. My friend's friend didn't know, so he also apologized, and they had a friendly conversation about the movie after that. All of that might not be true. Sorry if this wasn't what you were looking for, since he didn't dress up as a clown, but just felt that this was appropriate. He didn't dress up as anything after that until Halloween of next year, when the clowns had toned down a bit. Story 13. I'm from the Netherlands. While this was happening, there was a story that got huge here. So a kid of 10 and his older brother, I'd say 15 of how he looked, encountered one of those clowns. The older brother sent his brother home and beat the crap out of the clown and got him into a hospital. The whole country was proud of the teenager and he got in zero trouble. He did get on the news everywhere though. I like my country. Story 14. I did it because I used to be so scared crapless of clowns growing up. I figured if I became what I feared the most, there wouldn't be anything left to fear. At least that's what younger me thought. That made sense back then. Also, it was going to be bean burritos at Chipotle for Halloween, and I love Chipotle. So I did it to get rid of my fear for burritos. I think he just described Batman Begins, but with clowns and Chipotle? Story 15. I work at a school district's police department as a nighttime dispatcher, and we have 4,500 plus cameras monitoring all campuses. Back during the clown craze, these 4 kids decided to break into a campus, each wearing a creepy clown mask to hide their faces. Needless to say, in that initial moment of seeing them on camera, my heart dropped. No one wants to see multiple clowns armed with baseball bats at 3 in the morning. I'm sure it was way more terrifying on the officer's end. The kids were caught, and when asked why they did it, what they said was, "I don't know, just wanted to. Don't think there's a lot of thought behind most clown masks." Story 16. Okay, this is going to be a long one. So I heard people talk about all the clowns and stuff in my town. They were saying how clowns were going to attack our school, turn our town upside down, etc. So one day, I faked sick at my house in the 12th grade and went to the middle school in a clown costume. My brother was in middle school at the time, and they still had recess going up until 8th grade. So I stood in the woods by my school waving to kids with a balloon. By the way, I talked to the teacher outside before recess, so I would not get in trouble. And the kids freaked out. My brother said they were texting their parents saying goodbye and crap like that. I've never seen any 7th grader ever do that before. So after the 8th grade came out, 7th grade just went in for lunch, so I thought I should stay a little longer to get a few more people. This one kid then runs at me super fast. I started to run, then the kid tackled me and hit me in the balls a few times. All he said was, "Die, you mother effer!" over and over and over. I then threw the kid over and ran away. That night I had to go to the ER because my balls were in so much pain. The doctor said it should be healing in a week, and if I would have taken a few more hits, I could have got some serious damage to my balls. My brother told me that the kid who hit me is in one of his classes because he failed that class, and he always talks about how he beat up a clown. Turns out that kid's dad lured kids into the woods and unalived them, and he did not want that to happen to his classmates. That kid did some good, but man, that hurt. Story 17. Hopefully not too late to the party, but here it is anyway. I live in the countryside where there are cornfields all around, so there's not much to do to begin with. My friends and I thought it would be funny to dress up in clown costumes, get some pitchforks, super ripe tomatoes, and hop in the bed of my friend's truck. We also tied some balloons to the truck to keep with tradition. Our idea was to hide in the truck in my friend's cornfield where we would wait for a car to pass by, then pull out behind them and tail them for a mile or two. While one person drove, we had 4 guys in the back waving pitchforks and launching the occasional tomato at their car. We were only able to do this for one weekend because by the time we went back to school the following Monday, everyone was talking about the truck filled with clowns chasing people down Amwell Road. We then heard from one kid whose father is a township police officer that the police were looking at starting an investigation if the clowns continued to chase people. My friend Joe freaked out because he's not the kind of guy to get in trouble, so we decided to end our fun and get rid of the costumes. Luckily, the truck we used was my friend's farm truck, so we didn't have to worry about someone recognizing it out on the road. A year went by and nothing happened. We went off to college the following years, when we find out some group of guys decided to do what we did, except they got caught when they pulled out behind a cop. From what I heard, they were taken to the police station and spent the night in jail. That weekend was probably the craziest thing we ever did in that whole town. Story 18. 911 dispatcher here. I took the first clown sighting call in my county. Let me tell you, the caller and I both lost our crap when I asked, "Okay, I need to get the suspect's description," and she said, rainbow hair, a red nose, some pretty big shoes." She was laughing because it sounded ridiculous and crying at the same time because she was so scared. It was a good call, and she was fun. Story 19. I already had a clown in my front seat. My college sent the security team after me because people were reporting sightings of the clown at campuses I'd never been to, and that it was scaring the children. So I tore the costume off and left it as a skeleton, but they complained about that too. But it's a nursing school with skeletons inside, so I ignored all following complaints. That was like 4 years ago. I'm a returning student, and on October 1st, I will be dressing Mrs. Bones up as a clown again. Story 20. I remember when this clown phase was going on. I love all things Halloween, and clowns have never really bothered me. However, that doesn't mean I want to see one when I'm least expecting it. I'm sitting at home one night with my young son watching the telly. We had a large window in the living room, and at the time I didn't have a curtain on it. I heard something outside, like footsteps, but instantly thought it was a possum or raccoon, which is almost a nightly thing in my neck of the woods. I get up anyway to check it out because it bothered my son to hear it. This was in October. He had been watching scary crap on the TV, so he already had ghosts and goblins on the mind. I get up closer to the window, and all of a sudden this effing killer clown face pops up and is staring straight into our eyes. It startled me so bad my chest got instantly tight and I fell over out of pure panic. My son starts screaming and doesn't know what to do while holding a throw pillow for protection. This all happened in a matter of a few seconds, and the clown darted back down from the window. My parental instincts kick in and I start screaming at the clown, saying I'd unalive him if he ever came back here, and I'd be finding out who it was. I grabbed my pistol and went to stand on my front porch. I didn't see the clown anywhere, but I still shot into the darkness a couple of times to let him know that's a great way to get your butt stomped. Never figured out who that clown was, and it never happened again. Story 21. LOL, my friend actually did it. We live in a small college town and his only reason was that he thought it would be funny. So he would stand around campus late at night, near the walking trails, etc. One night he thought it'd be really funny to go into one of the dorm elevators dressed up at 3 a.m. and wait for people to get on. A drunk guy proceeded to walk on, got scared, and punched him in the face. End of that experience, LOL. Story 22. Well, I didn't use the internet too much back then. I was very focused on clown school. The last time I dressed up, I think it was the day they taught you how to spray water from a flower on your jacket. That's my favorite trick. So I got up nice and early and rode my bike into town. Got cut off by a pickup truck near the highway. They must have been scared that I was one of the creepy clowns. The truck pulled over and 3 tobacco-spitting, truck-riding, sister-effing, toothless rednecks stood in front of me. The first one said, "You ain't from around here, are you, boy?" I said back to him, "Daryl, you F off now. I knows for a fact that your mama is so fat you're off to Home Depot to rent a forklift to get her out of bed right this moment. Ain't no time for clown beating when you gots to get your mama out of bed." Luckily, I'd picked up Rosetta Stone, Roll Tide, before moving into town. Chapter 1 was all about using elaborate insults to frighten predators. Sure enough, Daryl and his 2 brothers/fathers/cousins took off into the distance with little more than a yee-haw towards me. I thank my lucky stars every day that I wasn't harmed. Dropped out of clown school, though. My girlfriend slept with the professor, and he gave her the clap. Story 23. Ha! I remember that time. I saw one opening my gate to my backyard. I opened my back door, and the dumb idiot got attacked by my pit and German shepherd. I've never heard someone scream so loud of terror in my life. Friggin' hilarious. That'll teach you to trespass. Story 24. I'm not sure if this was real or not, but a ton of stuff with the clowns went down in my school district. In my intermediate school, the clowns said that they were coming that day, and when recess started, the vice principal had to gather all of us up and say how it was safe for us to go outside. Apparently, there was a sighting of them after school. In my high school, 2 things happened. First, in the gym, there was a statue of a clown that was randomly there. No one knew how it got there, but a statue of a clown was obviously there. Second, there's a field by the top of the high school. Turns out that during one of the gym classes, my sister was in it, they were playing something on the field, and in the bushes right by the field, a few kids saw a clown hiding. The gym teacher stayed outside anyways, and the clown just chilled in the bushes, watching the kids. That's my story. Sorry for the mobile formatting. Story 25. I wanted to try something different with my life. The way it was headed, nothing was really going right. So I saw all these videos of people dressing up as clowns and scaring people. I thought it looked like a rush, a way to get something new out of life, which the way it was going was stale and gray. So I bought a clown suit and a fake, but really real looking knife for about $35. I spent about an hour painting my face white. Had a mask, but it didn't cover my whole face, and to be honest, I looked really creepy. I did this for like a week or so, but I stopped after a scary run-in. In my park, we have benches with statues on them. So you sit on the bench, and there's also a statue sitting there. So I sat on the bench next to the statue, but I was a clown. I sat very still until someone would run or walk by. Then I'd get up and say something creepy like, "Hello there," or "Not so fast." Well, I did this to one guy and he had pants on. Soon as I did this, he pulled a concealed carry pistol out from his ankle and he said, "Stop right there." And I is like, what the F am I going to do, die right now? And then he said, "Don't you effing post a question like this without a serious tag again." So after that, I hung up the clown suit and went back to my boring gray life. Story 26. Me and my neighbor pull pranks on each other all the time. When the clown craze was out, it was the perfect time to get some great supplies. My neighbor is deathly afraid of clowns. I dressed up as a scary clown with my chainsaw and waited outside her kitchen window for her to cook food. She screamed Bloody Mary and didn't come back for a day. She eventually got her revenge by putting all our Christmas decorations on the roof of our 2-story house. Story 27. One of my friends said they'd pay me $300 to dress up on homecoming night during the game, and I was in the woods around my school and freaked people out, and I'd let out little screams and whack some crappy toy machete with fake blood on it against a tree. It broke and the blood was all over, and the week after that, anyone in my town area would get arrested if they wore clown outfits and masks and only 5 people know it was me, and the rest think someone died in the woods. I even started saying who it was. I'd say it was an old man who lived in the house, a dumpy old house in the town. And to make it even better, a couple days later the house had signs in the windows to say not enter because it's not safe. Story 28. I dressed up like this for Halloween 2016. I'd done a similar costume for a couple of years, but with a headless guy carrying me in a box. There were plenty of people terrified enough of the clowns already, so I wandered around claiming to have been caught by one of them. It was probably the best Halloween I've had. Story 29. No one I know personally dressed up as one, and I certainly didn't, but in my little town there was a group of them in the cemetery. A group of guys proceeded to all go up there armed to the teeth with hunting rifles and shotguns. The clowns ran off as soon as the first warning shot was fired, and were never seen again. Take my advice. If you're going to dress up as a clown to try and scare people, don't do it in a small redneck town where everyone likes to hunt and drink. Yeah, pretty much exactly that. But maybe just don't do it at all. A lot of people are on edge these days. It's best not to give them a reason to, fire off on you. Story 30. Put on a clown mask inside my car and had a rather large bunting knife in my hand. And when I knocked on a friend's door to freak him out, didn't really work. But about 10 minutes later, we're smoking in the garage and my friend went out to throw a beer can away. The moment he stepped outside, he threw his hands up and closed the door and I heard, "Get on the ground!" We had just finished a joint, so I ran inside and hid all the crap while they pounded on the door leading to the house. I walked outside and there was 4 cops, guns drawn, asking if I was the clown. Turns out the neighbors across the street saw me walk up and called the cops. Story 31. A friend of mine actually wrote a pretty widely spread essay on creepy clowns. It's a super interesting read and is a well-known and coulrophobia field. I mean, if there is one. It's called Coulrophobia and the Trickster. This dude knows what he's talking about. He's an effing fountain of knowledge when it comes to the paranormal, folklore, and urban legends. If any of you guys watched Killer Legends on Netflix, it might still be on there. He was in that for a hot minute, talking about killer clowns. Story 32. I had a friend who kind of did that. One night, him and some other friends recorded 4 to 5 clown sightings one night, and a few days later released them all as if it was a live occurrence. He did so through a campus meme page he ran anonymously. Retweets piled up quick. I went to a smaller college with under 2,000 students living on campus, but you can bet a ton of them went out that night trying to catch the clown. Stuff got pretty serious quick. While hanging out outside my dorm watching stuff go down, I saw a truck with around 10 people in the back drive by, with all of them holding baseball bats and golf clubs. Whenever the majority of the clown hunters were in one area, he'd release a new video from the other side of campus. I'm pretty sure the police got called to defuse the situation. Honestly surprised nobody got hurt given how badly the mob mentality was getting. Story 33. I'm a dancer, and I was doing a Halloween-themed event. Kind of forgot about the clown epidemic until I came home that night and realized I forgot my keys and my mom was at her boyfriend's. And I snuck in through the kitchen window and answered the door to cops minutes later. Had to explain the clown makeup and that I lived there. LOL. That was fun. Story 34. I don't know if this counts, but during my senior year, which was in 2016, I dressed up as Hoxton from Payday 2, and someone asked me if I was the Joker. My response, "Do I look like the Joker to you?" Person in my math class, no. Me, "Then I'm not the Joker." Story 35. A person who made a Facebook account as a clown in my city threatened to shoot our school the day of our big rivalry game with the other high school in our city. Most schools would close if this happened just for caution, but sadly this happened a lot at my school and we had already had school canceled twice for people saying they were going to shoot up at our school. This was near Halloween in 2016 when the clown craze was popular. The kid was tracked down. He was a student at our school and was arrested for the threat. He was 16 and tried as an adult, and he went to jail for a while. Story 36. Dressed up as a clown for Halloween that year, I went to a pretty big neighborhood that had a lot of middle school to high school kids. Climbed into a tree and waited for people to notice. Once this group of high school kids saw me, I started vaguely following them throughout the day, just popping up here and there, just for the sole purpose of having fun. Story 37. Fun story. One of my buddy's sister was in high school at the time and, with her stupid friends, decided to threaten to blow up the school dressed as clowns. Long story short, the police showed up at my buddy's house and ended up arresting him for the threat because he couldn't prove his innocence on his front porch. So my buddy spent a week in jail and lost his phone to evidence, all because his sister and the police are effing morons. Story 38. I too would also like to know why. What inspired you to wait in a dimly lit alleyway for a guy like me to walk by, heading to my loft to give me a heart attack? More importantly, why would you think it would be funny to have a plastic knife that, in that light and distance, I cannot tell is fake yet? The effing idiot was just a tall 17-year-old, maybe 18 or 19, I don't know. But I was even taller and I yelled at him that I was panicked and somewhere in between fight or flight at that moment and that I carry a knife on me, cause I work on sets. I have a knife or multi-tool on me quite a bit. I haven't carried a knife simply to be edgy since high school. And if pushed, I would have certainly gone into it's you or me mode, and it wasn't going to be me. He seemed barely remorseful, and only after I mentioned I would have tried to hurt him to save myself. More on Story 39. Some guys in my high school did this. They would sit on the side of the road or in the middle of the road and start walking towards cars really creepily when they got close. They chased a guy from his work to his car with a machete. Also, since it was a small town, no one locked their car doors, so they would get in the back of other high school kids' cars and jump out at them once they started moving. After a while, everyone in the high school knew who it was, but the adults were freaked out. Pretty sure they only did it because it was a boring small town and they thought it would be funny. Story 40. I was planning on going as a clown that year for Halloween. When the clown scare thing started, I got a little worried. I went as my clown anyways. I made the entire costume and I was meant to be a fun, innocent-looking clown modeled after a marionette I own, but I put a little sexual spin on him. My clown name is Balloon Knot, and I make balloon animals on request that all end up looking like wiener and balls. Story 41. I didn't dress up as a clown, but I called my friend while walking home from school and shrieked really loudly and frantically yelled a clown is chasing me. Then I hung up the phone. She called me back like 2 to 4 times, but I didn't answer. Finally, I called her back to tell her it was a prank. She sounded like she was crying, and she said she was about to call the cops. So the A-hole of the year award goes to me. Story 42. I dressed up as Twisty the Clown from American Horror Story, and let's just say it quite simply scared the crap out of people. And in a way, that was the idea, because I would have friends with me to video everything and act freaked out. And like they didn't know what was going on, and they would post the video, and it would go viral so easily. Quite simply, we did it because it made us laugh, and going viral in our local area was pretty funny. Story 43. I wasn't a clown, but this happened during the clown craze. I was wearing a mask I'd made myself and wore it out for Halloween. It was Darkonda from Power Rangers. If anyone wants to see who I looked like, I wore the mask to the pub I was meeting my friends at. One guy got spooked on the path and said hi to me. When I said hi back, he laughed. He didn't expect a girl under the mask. Then I came across a group of shaves who were really scared of me and lost it. I admit it, I was giggling at them all trying to act tough as I walked past them, but they were so terrified they were running away. I wasn't even a freaking clown, and I was wearing Jedi robes. The character actually wore them. Other than that, nothing happened. The mask was a hit at the pub. There's a picture of it on my friend's head somewhere. Story 44. Not a clown, but I had a confrontation with one. I was walking outside at nighttime, and one of those effers came running at me. No weapon. I beat the crap out of him and left him there. I don't know if I killed him at that time or if I knocked him out, but he wasn't responding. I slept very good that night, surprisingly enough. In the morning, I looked in the mirror to see he cut my lip and gave me a bruise on the side of my face. I went outside to see if he was still there lying on the ground, and he was gone. It was evident that he left because of the blood footprints from his dress shoes. It's good to know I didn't kill the guy, but if you think I'm gonna run, I'm not going down without a fight. I ended up figuring out that clown I beat up was a dumb teenager who lived in my neighborhood. He came back to the area to find me to apologize and to praise me for beating the crap out of him. My exact words were, "I thought I killed you, man. You can't be doing this. Do you really think I'm proud of hurting somebody? Don't do that again or to anyone or you could actually get killed." I should add I didn't know about the clown trend at the time, but it was when it first blew up. I've never told anybody about this situation in real life because I don't want to deal with any sort of legal stuff. So I agree, you definitely shouldn't be doing that, and it's very dangerous, and you should avoid scaring people because you never know how they're going to react. But this guy saying, "Do you think I'm proud of hurting somebody?" after he said, "I think I might have killed him, but I slept pretty good that night," might be, a little two-sided. Story 45. I was pranking my friend who had a YouTube channel. He wanted to go clown hunting since there were multiple incidents in our area. So me and my other friend set up a plan to scare him. I bought the mask from a local shop. We arranged in our group chat to meet me near my house, but to go through this park, which is where I would be in the clown costume holding a little dinner knife. I was sat on a bench and saw him holding his camera and my other friend who was in on it approach me. My other friend was encouraging him to go near me, and then some other kids noticed what was going on, and one of them tried to take the knife out of my hand. I couldn't see very well through my mask and I sort of just yanked my knife back towards me and I cut this kid's finger. Similar to a paper cut, nothing bad. I eventually charged at my friend to start a fight with him and to scare the crap out of him, just to then take the mask off, and then we all got a good laugh out of it in the end. It turns out a couple years later I found out that this kid whose finger I cut resulted in assemblies at the most local high school, warning people to not go into that park, and people were very afraid for a good 2 weeks. And there was an article written about me. Story 46. I was the carrot killer clown in a short version. I'm big into it and had a costume made. A few warriors got cap lock heavy one evening close to Halloween, so I decided to don the costume and scare the crap out of them. Follow plan, take pics and upload them, go to sleep and wake up to 1,600 friend requests and going viral. Have fun! People began after about 7 days changing the game by trying to interest me in trying to brand or market, and somehow capitalize on what me and a few friends were doing for fun and entertainment. Around 12 to 14 day point, I started getting the vibe on the street it was going to be stale, so I killed it on high with a full expose. It's remembered fondly, and every Halloween I get begged to bring it out of retirement. F that carrot killer clown. Story 47. I did not dress up as one, but a teacher at my high school did. He was a new teacher, young too. On his first year at our high school, he ran around the neighborhoods dressed as a clown near our school, scaring kids he knew that were in our class. I'm assuming he just wanted to have some harmless fun. Turns out the school didn't think of it that way and he almost lost his job. He's still at our school today as the film and media teacher. He's actually a pretty chill guy. Dressing up as a clown and chasing children was the last thing I expected him to do. Story 48. My neighbor down the street did this for Halloween. His only good reason for doing it was because it was trendy and therefore funny. Nobody thought it was a good idea and nobody really liked it. His costume kinda sucked too. Story 49. Saw a video on YouTube where some guy did the creepy clown thing and he had a big knife and walked towards a man. The man pulled a gun. Clowny retreated quickly. My old volunteer fire department ran a haunted house in a training building. Each year we met a month or so before to discuss a theme. Someone said, "I'm scared of clowns." I couldn't believe how many people agreed with him. So that was our theme that year. Story 50. While I did see some clowns in 2016, nothing scared me more than in 2006, when I was just a teenager working a retail job. Small town. My brother's friend's dad was a professional clown. Sometimes he's come through my line at work after a gig in full clown gear, and I'd be trying so hard to not lose it. Other times, my brother's friend would call our house and the caller ID would light up with Twinkle Toes the Clown. Hated that crap. Story 51. I didn't do it myself, but I worked at a gas station at the time when the local news was currently warning people of killer clowns, despite the worst local case being a clown mugging, and to report anyone wearing a clown mask. All types of clown masks were withdrawn from local stores to reduce the clown population. For every customer who came in wearing a hood or mask as employees, our jobs that night included asking the masks and hoods to be removed for security reasons. A group of clowns came in and reacted as if we were targeting them specifically, saying they weren't going to cause trouble, they just wanted to dress up. Plenty of agitation and swearing from them too. Tired, I just said something like, "Remove the masks or get out. If you don't, we'll notify the cops. It's not about the killer clown crap, it's about identification. If you try crap." They refused either, and I called the non-emergency line. Cops showed up and questioned them, wanting to know why they ignored city warnings of the costume and an establishment's request to remove the mask. They were walked out of the store and asked to leave the premise. Maybe go home. I didn't hear anything, but I did see the officer point away from the store and do the shooing finger waggle thing that essentially means F off. Coworkers jokingly said I was a killjoy and too serious. I was just too tired to deal with non-compliant customers that were making a fuss. I was surprised that they stayed long enough for the cops to arrive. It took them like 10 minutes. Story 52. Never dressed up as one, but my town is so boring that nothing ever, and I mean ever, happens. And my mom thought it was a good idea to Photoshop a clown behind our backyard fence with a picture from the inside of the house and showed it to me when I got back from school. My room has a window facing the backyard, and I was scared, and I didn't find out it was fake until the next day. Story 53. Pretty late to this, but I'll just say it. When I was a junior in high school, 2016, me and my friends were all drinking at my house late at night. Some sophomores that we kinda knew were having a party next door, and I had some costumes in my basement. They were all out on the patio, so we made the great decision to dress up and sneak up on them from the back of the house. Bad idea. As we crept up on them, one of the girls noticed and screamed. The girls all ran inside, but about 15 drunk 16-year-old guys came running after us. We dipped into the woods and hid. Honestly, one of the most scary moments in my life. Low bar. They were looking around with flashlights, but I decided to make a run for it. Apparently, the others followed, and we all ended up safe in my house. To be honest, pretty stupid, but drunk teenagers do stupid crap. Story 54. Back in 7th grade, I was so upset at these a-hole boys who went to school with me, so I thought I'd give them a good scare. That did not go well. I decided to hide in the trees and just stare at and follow them. Soon enough, one saw me and turned totally pale. I was like, "Score!" And then he whispered something to his friends. I hid in the bush, and the friends all kind of made fun of him. And then he looked back, and I smiled at him and drew a line across my neck. Long story short, he screamed bloody murder, and his friends saw me. They chased me, and I was like 99% sure I was going to die. I ended up tripping and nearly dislocated my shoulder. The boys actually realized it was me and got me home. They're now some of my closest friends. So I guess that was pretty good. As far as the whole clown thing, I have a pretty dark sense of humor. So I found the idea to be hilarious. So far, I think this is the most positive outcome of all these stories. He tried to scare some kids, and they ended up becoming lifelong friends. That's pretty touching. It would make for one heck of a best man speech, too. Story 45. I'm a teacher at an elementary school. A former student decided to sit in the park next to our school in full clown. My students had earned eat with the teacher. So when I went out during their eat time, the kids were all screaming in full panic. It was crazy. Not funny either, because we had a few kids with autism and they flipped. The police were called. Story 56. My company has a yearly Halloween costume contest, so I decided to be a clown before the media frenzy. Ordered a clown costume and had it set for pickup at UPS. Then the sightings started. So I go to pick it up and they already delivered it. Did they deliver it to my home? Nope. They delivered it to a middle school. Seriously? Luckily they got it back and the school didn't open it. Story 57. I didn't dress up as one, but I know someone who did. He went all out with his costume, fake blood and everything. He hid in some bushes on the trail that was behind our school and ended up scaring a few middle schoolers that were walking. He eventually got suspended for about a month because of it. When I asked him why he did it, his only reply was, "I thought they would think it was cool." Story 58. I didn't, but I was working at a preschool at the time. I came straight to work from a meeting at university. I was wearing a cream-colored suit. It was cute. I loved it, with a strawberry and vanilla striped button-up underneath, pink and wild. The kids kept asking why I was a clown and for me to do tricks. I didn't think I looked that bad. This was in the middle of the clown crisis, so I was a bit worried after that though. Story 59. Not a clown. I was in grade 7 when this clown thing happened, and one of the kids got angry and almost beat the crap out of me because his uncle is a cop and the police had set up a blockade or something, and a bunch of clowns rolled up and killed a bunch of them and drugged 2 of them and did some weird crap so that if the cop moves his hand, he effing dies. I didn't look this up, but I know for a fact that it did not happen. The most these clowns did was chase you and maybe have a knife. One time my entire class looked out a window because this kid walked through the schoolyard to get to his school just past ours. Everyone was screaming because, "It's a clown! Everyone get down!" Golly, that was effed. Story 60. I did it a couple times. It's funny to me to scare people, and being afraid of a clown is irrational to begin with. I stood about 50 feet away from a school bus stop a couple of times. That was probably my favorite one. I just stand there looking at people and not move. Sometimes I've had a fake knife on my belt too. I never got bothered though. Nobody ever hit me or even said anything to me. They just walked the other way, obviously, freaked out, but it cracked me up. I like to scare people, and being afraid of clowns is irrational anyways. So his idea is to stalk and freak out children coming off the bus with a knife? I think kids are afraid of most things anyway, let alone anybody with a knife, so pretty douchey move. Story 61. I was working at Spirit Halloween during this time. One night I had a group of teenage boys show up at the counter with clown masks and fake machetes. The look I gave them. They seemed a bit sheepish and paid the highest donation amount for the children's hospital drive we were running. I suspect they were only trying to impress each other or their friends because there was no reports of a group of clowns roaming the streets the next few nights. Story 62. I didn't dress up as one, but one night while I was working at S-Bucks, one of my coworkers pinged us over the headset. If you guys don't know, they have cameras, so the baristas can see all the cars that pull up to the menu board, and the baristas started freaking out. There was just a random clown standing in front of the camera for like 5 minutes in the middle of the night, and then he just walked off. A week later, we had two very creepy looking dolls just chilling on top of our dumpsters, like on top of the lids, not inside. Great times. Story 63. Okay, so back when this whole thing was really blowing, we had a phone call at work from the police telling our manager that there had been clown sightings in the woods next to the care home where we worked, and to make sure no one would walk home alone after our shift. We usually clocked off at 9 p.m. Most of us were a bit freaked out, and I'm a total wimp. But for a laugh, we all arranged to all walk down and see if we could spot the clowns together afterward. People who were driving home or live in opposite directions also came. Needless to say, we were extremely disappointed when the clown that had the police warned us about was literally an old Ronald McDonald paper mural thing that some kids had pinned to a tree. Story 64. 15 to 16-year-old me was too scared to go out of the house alone if it wasn't in the middle of the day or if other people were coming with me. Those clowns had children scared crapless in our town. Had a friend's little sister asking me and said friend if we could walk her to the birthday party. It was only 200 meters away from her own house, but we brought the dogs, just in case. Story 65. I didn't do this, but I happened to come across a clown. It was roughly 10 to 11 p.m., and I was running an errand going to the store and on my way up the same street I live on, but I saw a clown with what looked like a machete. It was quite dark, obviously, and I saw it and it started running towards me from the other side of the road. Keep in mind, I was a big wimp back then, so obviously I effing ran as soon as it started running towards me. Trust me, when I say I ran, I effing bolted. Came home and noticed I was shaking and crap, so I evidently, a wimpy back then compared to now, I texted my friend about it, and they didn't believe me at all, so that's unfortunate. If this crap would start again, I'd probably not run. I'd probably just not want to get involved and briefly turn around and walk away. My normal walking pace is pretty much faster compared to my friends and family, so I guess I could just check where he is when I'm walking away to see if I do need to run or anything. If it happened to be right behind me, I'd just punch it in the throat and then run while he's staggered or something. Story 66. I dressed up as Hannibal Lecter, but people mistook the blood around the mouth for clown paint, coupled with the fact that I'd painted my face pale and yelled, "We don't want any clowns here," at me on the way to the Halloween party I was going to. I never saw any clowns, but I saw plenty of people who didn't want them. Story 67. I was filming a documentary at the time, and we were shooting by a pub in the park. It was getting time to wrap, and we had one last thing to shoot, when someone just started making these weird hysterical laughs. And we carried on because we couldn't see where it was coming from. And then it happened again. We decided to wrap up early and head home. I had packed the camera equipment away and we were about to head off when we see a clown hiding behind a tree. Bearing in mind it was like 9 p.m., so it was quite dark. I decided to pull the camera out and the light to shoot it just in case. I knew it was dark, but was wondering why I couldn't see anything through the camera. The person we were filming wasn't having any of it and decided to walk towards them and confront them. I was still filming, adjusting shutter speed, ISO, everything to try and get some light. Then he was gone. I was so annoyed I hadn't captured anything. I checked the front of the camera and the effing lens cap was on. I missed the whole thing. We decided to scope out the area to find these losers who had ruined the last bit of filming, but we didn't find the clown. But we found a bunch of teenagers in the back of the Corsa laughing their butt off, watching something on Snapchat. When I got home that night, I went on Snapchat to find the effing same clown in the same park doing it to other people walking dogs, and then myself and the crew. I didn't know if I should have been laughing or bloody furious. Story 68. I did something different since every clown in my area was effing beat on sight and went out as that creature from the video with a black full bodysuit and white mask crawling around. And if someone saw me, I stood up on my feet and stared at them until they ran or got close. I ignored kids since my father would beat my butt in if someone got too scared. Like one dude was just paralyzed standing there. Or if a bunch of dudes were drunk and annoyed, I just waved and walked calmly. Freaked some people out worse, but helped me out of getting my butt kicked. Story 69. Well, I've never dressed up as a clown then because it's plain stupid and you're likely to get the crap beat out of you. But one time I was driving when one came at me. I was driving down a small city in Oklahoma. Not really likely to have killer clowns when the most sketchy dude in a costume came up, timed my headlight on the stoplight, finally it turned green and I scared him away. A little weird, but not that scary. Story 70. I never dressed as a clown, but me and some friends would go and hunt them down. Backstory. My little sister, who was 12 at the time and I was 16, was waiting for her friend to pick her up from school after an event. Apparently people knew about the event and dressed as clowns and showed up afterwards to try and scare people and have fun. Instead, they caused havoc to rain down in my town. They scared my sister so bad she ended up going missing for a few hours because she ran from them. I was worried sick, and when I found out, I plotted my revenge. This could be a pro-revenge story maybe, I don't know. After that, me and a group of friends I trusted would roam the streets driving around in our free time. Keep in mind, when we found people dressed as clowns, we didn't physically hurt them. We scared the crap out of them so they would quit. Fun part starts here. An old friend I knew found out what I was doing and said he knew a group of guys who apparently had a, gang or club of clowns who had meetings and stuff. I don't know why, but they did. So one day he found out when and where this meeting was taking place. So I got all my friends, parents, neighbors, family, anyone I knew and could trust to show up wearing all black and bring threatening looking things. They had their clown get together at the park, which was perfect, because when we showed up and we surrounded every side, honestly I remember just watching as those grown men in clown costumes screaming and running, trying to hide behind trees or even inside of trees. My neighbor brought his lawnmower with him, which was funny to watch him riding a John Deere with a pitchfork. After that night, the clowns rarely showed up in my town ever again. Hope y'all enjoyed it, even though it was backwards from the question. Story 71. Didn't dress up as one, but thought I was gonna die from one. My friends and I were heading into a forest because we liked to make forts out of sticks and stuff. We got kind of deep into the forest and there was this really old grill and a few empty beer cans around it. We walk a little bit past the grill and see what looks like to be a clown with a baseball bat, but his back is to us. My friend throws a rock near him and we turn around and ran, hearing the footsteps behind us. We ran all the way back home, not looking back. Easily the scariest thing that ever happened to me that summer. Story 72. Not me, but my friend. I'm absolutely petrified of clowns, and during this time period I was scared to go outside when it was dark out. But one day I was invited to a party, and I decided to go. When I left my house to go to my car, he was hiding in the bushes outside of my house. So when I approached my car, he came running at me in a clown costume. I screamed bloody murder and turned around to face him and punched him so hard across the face I'm pretty sure he got a bloody nose and he bit his tongue. When I was standing over him on the ground, he took off his mask, showed me that he was not a clown, but just one of my friends. I felt bad for him, but at the same time, he learned a lesson. Don't run up to me in a clown costume, or you will get hit in the face. Also, it turned out the party was fake and he was just doing it to drag me out of my house. Also, my other friends were just around the corner of my house waiting to see my reaction. Story 73. I am a sailor. So I have some fantastic, very visible orange rain gear from work that I wear on land when it's raining too. I was walking home from karate practice in a drizzle when a couple of teens spot me in the dark park and freak the F out and run away. I eventually caught up to them as they calmed down, since I walked at leisurely and non-threatening pace and explained that I wasn't a clown out to kill them. What a Wednesday night. Story 74. Well, it was actually an accident. As a teen, I had the simply brilliant idea of dressing up as the Joker for Halloween. It was common in my neighborhood to go specifically for houses that left only a bowl of candy in the driveway with no attendance and to just snatch all of it up. I had an outfit, but I somehow lost it over the summer, so my friend happened to have a mask for me. He dropped off the costume for me and I never even took the time to look at it before Halloween. When October 31st came, I got dressed for the first time and I quickly realized that it wasn't the Joker costume. It was just a clown costume. I had nothing else to wear, so I just said screw it and went out with my friend, different than the first one, who also went as the Joker, but for real. 5 minutes after we left his house, I remembered that there were many clown incidents specifically near my hometown, and I realized I messed up. But I really wanted candy before other kids in the neighborhood got to those bowls, so we went to the first few houses as normal. I got so many glares and people yelling at me and my friend that night. Some people threatened to call the cops on me. I even had someone show me that they had a gun on them and I was just terrified. By that point, I wanted to head back, but since this was my friend's neighborhood and he was usually always at my place, I had no clue how to get back, and we still wanted to get more candy. My favorite part is the dude that stood out of his lawn chair and followed us for a half a block with a large butcher knife at the ready. Why would he have a butcher knife at the ready? I don't even know what was up with the people in that neighborhood, but to be fair, I'm the one who literally dressed up as a clown on Halloween. Story 75. I didn't do any of that stuff, but I just wanted to share something about it. I wanted nothing to do with those a-holes, and being the paranoid 15-year-old I was when this was going on, I started carrying a knife when the whole clown thing started. I luckily never ran into them. But if I had, and one would have attacked me violently, I know I would have done anything to get that mother effer off of me. I was fully prepared to use my knife in that case. Story 76. At my school, an acquaintance I knew, let's call her C, decided it would be a great idea to post something on a clown Instagram account, basically saying that a clown and her clown buddies were going to shoot up each of the schools in our school district and gave dates for each shooting. Some of the schools went on lockdown, and others didn't really care, and just sort of pretended like there wasn't a shoot threat going on. Overall, they found out it was C because there was some sort of mistake she made by having her personal Instagram profile picture showing in the clown account's post. Good going, C. Story 77. Confronted a few in full voodoo doll costume. I say confronted. My daughter spotted them out trick-or-treating, left with her nanny. Knew the neighborhood well enough to go around the back where they were hanging out. Ran from the dark bushes at full speed at them. No Naruto arms, sadly. Spooked a couple of them into running off. Halloween win. Incidentally, the same night, as a nice clown double clapped at me, I just popped a fresh blood capsule in my mouth. Meme review, I spluttered, blood everywhere. I hate myself a little, but oh so much fun. Story 78. Not exactly answering your question, but I'll tell you a funny story that has to do with creepy clowns. So, back in 2016, my friend's neighborhood was flooded with those clowns. This friend invited me for a sleepover so we could go for a clown hunt late at night. Sure, it sounds fun. So I went over to him, and we went outside at like 11 p.m. We saw a clown who my friend knew to be a crackhead who lived near him. We walked up to him and said those things along the lines of, "We know where you live, you effing donkey," and all that. He tried to punch us, but not very hard. Then he just started cursing and walked away. Me and my friend got a good laugh out of that. Story 79. I didn't participate, but I wish I had, and I often consider things like this. To me, this is the pinnacle of performance art, true art in my opinion. It exists in a living moment shared between the artist and the audience. So a live performance is a truly first-hand artistic experience, whereas listening to a recording of that live performance is a secondary artistic experience. Wait, what? Story 80. I'm not the clown. Anyway, me and my friends lived in a very open neighborhood. Basically, what I mean by that is that people were not scared of crap unless someone was walking around with a gun pointing it at people and stuff. No one would be scared. To make it more clear, if you don't have a gun, then no one is scared of you. So on with the story. Me and my friends were playing something outside in the road and it was pretty late, but a lot of people were still out. Anyway, a guy decided to dress up as a clown and attack people. He walked up to this mom and her son with a knife and he tried attacking her. But instantly I saw old guys jumping off their porches and tackling this dude. They beat him black and blue. I swear anyway he ended up in jail because he wanted to attack them. Story 81. I was driving from New Orleans to Chicago back then and stopped in a Taco Bell somewhere north of Jackson, Tennessee around midnight. As I was waiting an unreasonably long time at the counter for my food, I noticed all the employees just staring at me wide-eyed. I turned to look behind me, and there is a dude in a Grim Reaper costume with a clown face on standing about a foot behind me. Fight or flight took over, but also a bit of hesitation. So I instinctively grabbed at the guy and I said, I will literally drag your butt outside and unalive you in the effing parking lot if you don't get the F away from me. No words were said. The guy just backed up and went to sit in the booth. I got my food and dipped out. I tried telling my buddy who was waiting in the car, and even after seeing the guy inside as we drove away, he couldn't believe it. Okay, wait. Hold on. Was this guy just looking at the menu? It says he went and sat back in the booth. So he wasn't carrying a weapon, he wasn't threatening anybody. Was it Halloween? Was he at a convention? I don't know. He might have just gotten threatened for no reason. He just went and pouted in the freaking corner booth until this guy left. I kind of feel bad for the Grim Reaper. Story 82. I used to work as a birthday party clown, so I still have all of the gear. It wouldn't require much of a makeup adjustment to turn Bob, the friendly birthday clown, into Bob, who lurks at the border between dream and nightmare. People were obviously having fun being scared, so I thought, hey, why not get out there and stir up a little fun? Then I remembered that I was living in Arizona, where 1 in 3 people own a gun, and I thought, that is why not. Neither Bob nor Bob ended up making an appearance. Story 83. Not creepy in my opinion, but I used to don full clown costume and paint with a professional clown nose to smoke weed in my backyard, just because it felt so good to do as a clown. Neighbors didn't appreciate it though, as their kids had a lot of questions. The absurdity was very amusing, and it only got more amusing as I got high. Story 84. Well, I didn't dress up as a clown, but I have a funny story about what was happening. My uncle was a cop, and he owned a .416C carbine that he had when on duty. He hated those clowns, and there were a few that were in the neighborhood but stayed far away from our house. One day, a few of those losers decided to get too close and were staring through a window by our house, while his buddies were outside by a streetlight. My uncle, who was with us because he had work in the town, got upset. So he takes out his carbine, aims it at the clown, and shoots a few bullets, but purposely misses. The clown got so scared as soon as he saw the gun that he broke character and you could see the terror in his face. He then started running away, but my uncle ran out of the house with the gun, and next thing you know, there's a bunch of clowns running down the street, although he didn't shoot or anything while chasing them. Anyway, the next day we threw water when we drove past the clowns and did various other pranks on them. Poor clowns. I think we scared them way more than they scared us. Story 85. Me and friend were like 11. He bought a clown costume before Halloween and was too scared to put it on a single second before the 31st. So me, being the idiot, wanted to put it on and he allowed it. So I went to the nearest gas station and waved to people inside. About 3 screams and I realized I wasn't as friendly as I thought I was. My friend, watching from afar, just dipped, and I realized I probably should have ran too. Being the alpha friend, I caught up to him, and as seeing a pile of rubble we hid behind, and caught out of breath. Still in perfect view of the gas station, about a minute later, we saw a police van roll up and immediately multiple people ran out of the gas station to talk to the officer. The employee eventually came out and pointed in our direction. Being 11, we just ran in bare sight back to our house. Officer hit the sirens and didn't even come for us. He just went back to the station or something. Probably saw we were just little and didn't care too much. But in total, why we did it? Because we were stupid. Story 86. Not me dressing up and in 2017, but still creepy clown. There was a park right next to our school, like through a little bit of trees, and there was a trail there where we went to run the mile and gym. We got to the park and this creepy clown was there holding an axe and knife, just walking around. We went back as fast as we could and the school had a lockout later. It was on the news. Story 87. Didn't dress up, but on Halloween day I was leaving campus, and as I was near the freeway entrance, the car in front of me slammed the brakes and I almost crashed into him. I was about to honk, but saw a clown with a machete crossing the street and scaring people. Then I saw on the sidewalk a bunch of guys laughing and recording on their phones, and the clown ran off towards the campus. I just assumed he was a kid who lived in the dorms who made a bet dressing up as a clown. My school did have a strong presence of cops after a couple of sightings. Story 88. Well, I didn't dress up as a clown, but I made a fake text saying I was a clown and coming to my town. I then posted it on Twitter. The next day I woke up and it had like 3,000 retweets. Didn't end well considering I used my public Twitter and I was in school at the time. The next day I was in the principal's office being lectured by 5 cops on why I shouldn't do that and how I was a terrorist. Story 89. Because it was hilarious. There's an irrational fear of clowns built into society, and I think that fear stems from people who are actually afraid of clowns influencing people who normally wouldn't ordinarily be afraid of clowns because they want to fit in. Whether it's a conscious act or not, people say they're afraid of clowns like everybody says they has a depression or anxiety or PTSD. Everyone says they have it, but only select people actually do. So we dressed up as clowns to kind of show how ridiculous and stupid people are. And sure enough, it caused so much chaos and fear over simply dressing up. To be honest, I think we should bring it back. Okay, so there was a lot of mumbo and jumbo at the top of that, but the idea that, we just want to scare people because they're not really afraid of clowns as much as they think they are. I think running at anybody with a knife, regardless of the face paint or not, would scare most people. So it was less about the actual costume and the threat of whoever was donning it. I'm not afraid of clowns. I am afraid of clowns with knives. Story 90. I never actually saw any clowns during the event, but there were 2 incidents that I had with it. The first one, I took a shower, and when I got to my room, I could have sworn I felt the presence of a clown outside the window. I was pretty paranoid because I was in 8th grade, so I decided to change into clothes in my closet, but I could have sworn that there was a clown outside my window. The other incident was about school. Apparently, there was a Facebook account that had the name Clown that made a threat towards our school building specifically, which narrowed it down to someone in our grade. It was basically the thing being talked about that whole day, and parents kept coming in to take their kids home. The school just decided to end school early that day. Pretty weird experience. Story 91. I saw a clown mask in the store, and I thought, hey, this will come in handy one day. Then I saw an old clown costume at a Halloween costume swap that I had to just have complete my scary clown costume. Then the scary clown epidemic occurred. So it was just good timing, really. Although I didn't wear it out in random places because I come from a place where most people are armed.